We reached out to MrWhoseTheBoss to find out how he would design his own Dream OS. In this video, we're going to cover all the features, how much it would cost to develop, and we've even mocked up the design to show Arun at the end. So let's get into it. MrWhoseTheBoss, or Arun, has reviewed thousands of tech products over his career, and in our last video, we designed his dream smartphone. And here's what he had to say about it.
It's a very interesting mix of curvature with geometry. Well, you have my money. I'm very curious to see what you've done with the software on this thing.
We're setting out to design the perfect OS for that hardware, but it's going to be a little bit trickier than you might think. Luckily for you, we've split the whole process into 5 easy to digest stages, starting with number 1, planning. For this specific OS, we're going to project an ambitious development timeline of 12 months. This is actually unheard of in the industry, but given that this is Arun's dream smartphone, we ain't going to keep him waiting. This stage basically consists of a small team of senior members getting together and outlining what they want from this new system. For example, Arun has requested very toned down visuals, kind of like Nothing OS, but with the addition of notifications that glow so the system can highlight what's most important to him. When Nothing OS goes for a very subtle approach where no app in particular draws your attention, Arun wants the relevant app to glow for you to instantly direct your eye to it. Now, this could be as simple as adding some glowy lights around the notifications that have most recently come in, but we probably want to add some AI logic to this to feel like it really knows you. So for example, if your house is burning down, you probably want to know about that first. Things like this would be outlined by that small group of senior team members. They're going to be looking at things like project timelines, budgets, and resource allocation, and this whole process lasts for about 2 months. Now, you may notice that the time given for each of these 5 stages actually totals more than 12 months. Before you get in the comments telling me my maths is bad, some of these stages are happening simultaneously to make things more efficient, so shut up. Now on to stage 2, platform development. There are 2 approaches to making an operating system these days. The first is to build from the ground up, which is very expensive, labor intensive and challenging, or the second one, which is way more accessible to young startups, is behind door number 2.
What's that?
They'll add like a hinge sound effect. It's the door number 2.
Right.
The second easier option is to fork AOSP, otherwise known as Android Open Source Project, the basics of all great smartphones. Now, if you've ever been on GitHub before, you've probably heard of this phrase, but forking is where you take someone's existing chunk of code and add some of your own on top to create something new. This gives you a head start in development by giving you a baseline OS to make your own. And if you pair it with GMS, you'll benefit from improved security, having a functioning app store, and also there's a whole bunch of Android developers out there already, so it's just going to make things a bit easier for us. Now, you might think this sounds a bit lazy, why not make your own OS? But actually it took Huawei 4 to 5 years to transition away from Android with Harmony OS. And even then, that still kind of looks a little bit like Android, doesn't it? So no complaining in the comments. Also, we've been told that adapting AOSP isn't quite as plug and play as it used to be. Now that Google has their own lineup of devices, stock Android's looking kind of bare bones, and you have to work even harder to meet basic expectations. For example, you might remember Nothing OS 1.0 on Phone 1. It was a kind of basic experience, and now compare that to Nothing OS 4.0 nearly 3.5 years later, looking a lot more elevated, a lot more elegant. Quick sidebar, the Android nerds out there are probably wondering why we haven't just done our own custom launcher. But custom launchers are great, but quite restrictive. You can't change anything in the system settings, and you can't optimize for your own hardware, so let's move on. Now, the whole development process is projected to take about 6 months with a team of about 300 software engineers, and I have to stress that this is way quicker than industry norms. And for context, when Phone 1 launched, our whole company was less than 300 people, so it's a miracle that phone even launched in the first place. Now, on to stage 3, testing, quality assurance, and compliance. Now that we've done all the UI designing and engineering, it's time to get into testing. And you might have seen some of our other product testing videos, but sadly, these tests don't involve throwing things downstairs. So how exactly do you test software? Well, we'll break this down into 2 categories. The first of which is professional testing. These are automated tests carried out by running hundreds of scripts to test how the device performs while running multiple apps simultaneously, and also measuring how it holds up over time. And the second category is user trials. Similar to finding bugs in a video game, the team go through every inch of the software to see if there's any funny glitches that crop up, or if there's any more serious stuff that could end up hurting your device. Now, this actually has a fun industry term known as dog fooding, and this originates from where pet food manufacturers would eat their own products to prove that they were safe for consumption. Alongside internal teams, companies will also make use of external beta testers and sometimes include their own community. This helps find things that algorithms might not pick up, like inconsistent typing or maybe some things that just aren't very user-friendly. This is all super important. Now, it might only be software, but code can be unpredictable sometimes, so it's important to do these tests to make sure the OS is working as we expect. As part of this, the team also does a bunch of security testing and threat modeling to make sure the phone is safe against any potential vulnerabilities. Now, this process isn't perfect, and sometimes things do slip through the cracks. If you remember back to February, Apple had an issue where people could bypass their lock screen, and holy shit, that was embarrassing. And with this, it takes about 6 months in total to pull off. Now, onto the penultimate stage, hardware implementation. Now, this stage is pretty short and sweet. Hardware implementation is where you take your final device and you install the software onto it. This is so you can make sure everything's working as intended and gives you a chance to implement any hardware optimizations and tuning. At this stage, the software team will work directly with the factories to make sure the OS comes pre-installed on all of the devices. In total, you can expect this stage to span over 3 months. And with that, we move on to our final stage, number 5, deployment and launch. So it's been 12 months of hard work, you've banded together as a team to make something beautiful, and now it's time to prepare to ship this out to all those lovely people who can't wait to get their grubby little mitts on your new phone. This stage is basically the final polish. You're getting that final OS build ready, installing any pre-installed apps, shout out you Samsung, and preparing for that all-important day one patch. This is the amalgamation of a year of hard work, and all that initial planning has paid off. But the work definitely doesn't stop there for the software teams. Software is a living and breathing thing, with updates continuing to be pushed after the device's launch to bring new features and improvements to the community. So bear in mind, whilst this might be the last stage of this video, it's definitely not the last stage of work for our software teams. We've got to keep cooking. With that said, at the start of the video, I said we were going to give you some figures, so how much is this all going to cost? Obviously, every company pays people based on different benchmarks, but we've done some napkin maths, so this is what you could roughly expect to pay. There's a lot that goes into this final cost. There's the price of devices and the cost of the testing lab, user research and design testing, cloud GPUs, and the tools that the team's going to need like Figma for designing, and all the engineering and design team salaries. But overall, you're looking at spending $40 million. Isn't that more than the hardware?
Yeah, that was about 26 mil.
Okay. What? Anyway, it's time for us to show Arun the final design of his new OS, and fingers crossed he likes it. I'm scared.
I mean, there's like 1,000 things to take in there. Let me do this one more time. This right here, I actually love this. If I could open up my home screen and the one icon that I've decided has a notification from someone I've decided is important is the only icon that's glowing, that is amazing at just like directing my attention to that thing and that thing only.
Yeah, and it's the trick that app icon designers use, is like drawing your attention in with color. So if we take all the color away and use that same kind of philosophy more intentionally.
It's beautiful. So I'm not sure about the screen kind of melting together. That might just be a strange transition. This I like though. This I really like. We've seen companies do priority notifications before, but it's never been smart enough to be useful. This is almost contingent on a hypothetical world where it's better than it currently is. I love how the #1 priority notification that nothing has subscribed to you on YouTube. I quite like the idea that, you see right now the brightness slider is glowing. The brightness slider is only glowing if there's something to either look at on it or you're currently interacting with it. Then they revert so that they're not the primary point of attention. I'm not sure I could deal with these transitions every single time I open up a menu. Back of the phone looks so spicy here.
It is very Tron, isn't it?
Yeah, amazing. Guys, you killed it.